Hello friends, let's create logging interceptor in our Angular standalone application. We can create interceptor using Http Interceptor and Http Interceptor FN. If you want to create functional Http Interceptor, we need to use Http Interceptor FN. I will create here a logging HTTP interceptor that will log server response, whether it is succeeded or it is failed. I will also log at what time server gives the response, means what is the time between request and response. So let us check it. Look into this syntax. This is a function of HTTP interceptor FN type, and it has two arguments, HTTP request and HTTP handler FN. As we have to check the response time, then when code starts to execute, I am just taking the time. Then use HTTP handler FN and pass the request. This is the next function, and pass the request, and then we will use tab operator to log our data. RxJS tab performs side effects for every value emitted by source observable and returns an observable identical to the source observable. Tab is the pipeable operator, and it is the changed name of the RxJS do operator. Initially we know it by do operator name. So let us use the tab. It has three parts: next, error, and finalize. When everything is fine, the code will go to the next part, and if there is error, then the code will go to the error part, and in the finalize part, this part of code will run in both cases, whether the code response is successful or not. So if we get the success response, then we can log whatever we want. I'm just checking the event. If it is of HTTP response type, then I'm assigning status variable as succeeded. Come to the error part. If we get the error from response, I'm just assigning our status variable as failed. As we know that the finalize block will execute in both cases, whether the response is successful or not. So here we log our actual message. calculate the elapsed time. This is the current time and this is the time when we start our this execution of this function, and then create the message. Here I am creating a message including request method name, URL with params and status, it can be succeeded or failed, and elapsed time in millisecond, and then I am logging it into console. So this is my logging interceptor that will log whether the request is success or failed and what time it takes to complete. Okay, now let's configure it in our standalone application. This is our function. Logging interceptor is our function. Go to the application config and within providers use provide HTTP client and pass it with interceptors, and inside interceptors pass the array of all HTTP interceptors whatever you have created. Here in my case I have created only one interceptor, so I am using only one. It means we have to pass our interceptor as an array to with interceptors function, and then this should be passed to provide HTTP client. Provide HTTP client enables us to use HTTP client to inject in our services or component, and with interceptors enables us to use functional HTTP interceptors. This part is I am using in-memory data for the demo. Now let's run our application. Look here, this is the log by logging HTTP interceptor. Method, this is request method, this is the URL, whether it is succeeded or failed, and the time taken by request. So this response was created by our HTTP logging HTTP interceptor. The advantage of creating HTTP interceptor for logging that now it will work for every request. Okay, thanks.